The trajectory of Elon Musk's public engagement with artificial intelligence presents one of the most compelling and perplexing narratives in modern technology. For years he was Silicon Valley's most prominent Cassandra, a vocal prophet of doom, who warned that the unchecked development of AI was tantamount to summoning the demon. His pronouncements were not fleeting concerns, but a sustained campaign cautioning against a fundamental existential risk for human civilization. He advocated for stringent government oversight and founded OpenAI in 2015 with the explicit mission of creating a non-profit bulwark against the reckless, profit-driven pursuit of AI, ensuring its development would benefit all of humanity. Yet the Elon Musk of today appears to be a figure transformed. He is now at the helm of xAI, a company he launched in 2023 with the audacious goal of building a superior form of artificial general intelligence, AGI. He now speaks not of caution but of competition, teasing the release of AI models he describes as crushingly good and possessing PhD-level intelligence in every domain. This dramatic reversal has led many to question the sincerity of his original warnings. This identifies a superficial explanation offered by Musk himself during a 2018 appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. He tried to warn policymakers, but nobody listened. While this sentiment of frustration is a valid and important piece of the puzzle, it is merely the catalyst, not the complete explanation for such a profound strategic pivot. It fails to account for the intricate web of corporate maneuvering, technological acceleration, and personal ambition that truly underpins his transformation. This presentation will argue that Elon Musk's metamorphosis from AI prophet to AGI protagonist was not a simple change of heart but a calculated strategic pivot precipitated by a critical turning point, his 2018 departure from the board of OpenAI. This event represented a fundamental loss of control over the primary entity he had established to guide AI safety. This loss of influence, occurring just as the AI arms race began an uncontrollable, exponential acceleration, rendered his cautionary public stance strategically obsolete. His subsequent actions, the acquisition of Twitter, now X, the founding of xAI, and the integration of AI across his corporate empire, represent a coherent shift from a strategy of containment to one of competitive alignment. The analysis will demonstrate that Musk concluded that if the arrival of a world-altering AGI is inevitable, then a version reflecting his principles and integrated with his civilizational goals for Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink must exist to compete with and ultimately steer humanity's future. Part 1, The Cassandra of Silicon Valley, 2014 to 2018. To understand the magnitude of Elon Musk's pivot, it is essential to first establish the depth and consistency of his initial cautionary stance. Between 2014 and his departure from OpenAI in 2018, he was arguably the world's most influential critic of unfettered AI development. His warnings were not sideline commentary, they were a central theme of his public persona, aimed at shaping policy and public opinion. This period was defined by a doctrine of existential caution and the creation of OpenAI as his chosen instrument to enforce it. Chapter 1. A Doctrine of Existential Caution. Elon Musk's early warnings about artificial intelligence were characterized by their apocalyptic tone and their insistence on the uniqueness of the threat. Unlike other technological risks, which he saw as harmful to individuals or groups, he framed AI as a danger to civilization itself. This doctrine was built on three pillars: the articulation of existential risk, a persistent call for proactive regulation, and a foundational belief that he had a personal responsibility to act. The most iconic expression of his concern came in October 2014 during a symposium at MIT. It was here that he delivered the now famous line, "With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon." This powerful, almost theological metaphor immediately set his critique apart from more measured academic discussions. He compared AI developers to a guy with the pentagram and the holy water, who is sure he can control the demon, only to find that it doesn't work out. This framing was not accidental. It was designed to provoke a visceral public reaction and convey a sense of uncontrollable, otherworldly power that transcended typical technological risk. He consistently reinforced this message by characterizing AI as humanity's biggest existential threat. In 2017, he famously tweeted that the risk posed by AI was vastly more risk than North Korea, a statement made during a period of heightened nuclear tension. He argued that AI was potentially more dangerous than nukes, a comparison intended to place AI in the highest possible category of global security threats. This rhetoric was aimed at shaking the public and policymakers out of their complacency, arguing that the speed of AI development was being dangerously underestimated by almost everyone, including those within Silicon Valley. Flowing directly from this assessment of risk was his unwavering call for government regulation. Musk argued that any technology that represents a potential danger to the public, cars, planes, food, drugs, is regulated, and AI should be no different. He explicitly proposed the creation of a government agency to oversee AI development, a referee that could ensure public safety was prioritized over corporate competition. He understood the political inertia involved, noting that regulatory agencies are typically formed only after a catastrophe, but argued that with AI, waiting for something terrible to happen would be too late. This belief in a top-down collective safety mechanism was the cornerstone of his proposed solution. However, even during this period of public advocacy, there were signs of the fatalism that would later define his pivot. In his 2018 interview on the Joe Rogan Experience conducted shortly after he left the OpenAI board, he recounted his efforts to convince government officials, including President Obama and Congress, of the impending danger. His conclusion was stark: nobody listened. He described a fundamental mismatch between the slow, reactive nature of regulation and the exponential pace of AI advancement. This early expression of futility foreshadowed his eventual abandonment of the strategy of public persuasion in favor of direct competitive action. Chapter 2: The OpenAI Experiment, a Bulwark for Humanity. Elon Musk's cautionary doctrine was not confined to rhetoric. It was translated into action with the founding of OpenAI in December 2015. The organization was conceived and established as the practical manifestation of his safety-first philosophy, a direct countermaneuver to the closed-door, profit-driven AI development taking place at corporate behemoths like Google's DeepMind. OpenAI was, in its inception, intended to be a bulwark for humanity, ensuring that the path to AGI was guided by a mission of collective benefit rather than corporate self-interest. The founding mission, as laid out in its charter, was to ensure that artificial general intelligence, AGI, benefits all of humanity. This was underpinned by a non-profit structure, a radical departure from the standard Silicon Valley model. Musk, alongside co-founders Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and Ilya Sutskever, among others, explicitly stated that they were motivated by profound concerns about AI safety and the existential risks associated with AGI. The organization pledged to freely collaborate with other institutions and researchers, making its patents and research open to the public as a safeguard against the concentration of power. This open philosophy was the core of the strategy. By democratizing access to powerful AI, they hoped to prevent any single entity from gaining a dangerous, unassailable lead. Musk's role was central to this endeavor. He served as a founding co-chair and was a key financial backer, pledging significant capital and ultimately contributing at least $44 million in the early years. His leadership experience at Tesla and SpaceX, known for pursuing audacious long-term goals, heavily influenced OpenAI's ambitious trajectory. He was not a passive investor. OpenAI was his primary vehicle for actively steering the future of AI in a direction he deemed safe. It was his answer to the problem he had so loudly diagnosed. The initial years of OpenAI reflected this mission. The organization published detailed research, shared code openly, and focused on foundational advancements in areas like reinforcement learning. However, the very foundation of this experiment, the non-profit, fully open model, would soon come under immense pressure from the escalating computational costs required to compete at the frontier of AI research, setting the stage for the ideological schism that would ultimately drive Musk away and set him on a new path. Part 2: The Turning Point, Schism and Acceleration, 2018 to 2023. The period between 2018 and 2023 marks the critical inflection point in Elon Musk's relationship with artificial intelligence. It began with an internal schism that severed him from his own creation and ended with an external, industry-wide acceleration that rendered his old strategies untenable. This confluence of events, the loss of control over OpenAI and the subsequent uncontrollable explosion in AI capabilities, was the crucible in which his new competitive philosophy was forged. His pivot was not a single decision, but a reaction to a series of cascading developments that systematically dismantled his original plan for safeguarding humanity's future. Chapter 3: The 2018 schism, the loss of control. Elon Musk's departure from the OpenAI board in February 2018 was the definitive turning point in his AI journey. While the official announcement cited a potential future conflict of interest with Tesla's own burgeoning AI efforts for autonomous driving, this narrative was a diplomatic simplification of a much deeper strategic and ideological rupture. The split was not about a hypothetical future conflict, it was about a present and intractable disagreement over the three pillars of any organization: control, funding, and mission. This event was not merely a change in board membership, it was the moment Musk lost his primary instrument for influencing the trajectory of AGI. Beneath the surface of the official statement was a fierce power struggle. According to later reports and statements from OpenAI, Musk had grown concerned that the organization was falling dangerously behind competitors, particularly Google. His proposed solution was radical. He suggested that he take full control of OpenAI, effectively merging it with his corporate empire to give it the resources and aggressive direction he felt it needed to compete. When the other founders and the board rejected this takeover bid, the impasse became permanent. This episode reveals a core aspect of Musk's operational philosophy, a deep-seated belief in the necessity of singular, decisive leadership to achieve monumental goals. When he could not secure that control at OpenAI, he walked away. The power struggle was intertwined with a fundamental ideological break. The original non-profit model, which Musk had championed, was proving incapable of funding the colossal computational resources required for frontier AI research. The leadership team, led by Sam Altman, concluded that a for-profit arm was necessary to attract the billions in capital needed to stay in the race. OpenAI transitioned to a capped profit structure, a hybrid model that Musk viewed as a profound betrayal of the founding mission. In his view, this pivot from a purely humanitarian goal to a structure that incentivized profit, even if capped, set OpenAI on the very path it was created to avoid. This ideological rift is the source of the enduring animosity and public feud between Musk and Altman, with Musk later deriding his former partner as Scam Altman.
The final nail in the coffin of the original vision was OpenAI's landmark partnership with Microsoft.
Beginning with a $1 billion investment in 2019 and escalating to a reported $13 billion, this alliance provided OpenAI with the supercomputing infrastructure it desperately needed, but also tethered its future to one of the world's largest technology corporations. For Musk, this was the ultimate perversion of the mission. The non-profit counterweight he had helped build to challenge corporate dominance in AI had, in his eyes, been co-opted by the very forces it was meant to balance. His creation was now a key asset for a direct competitor, armed with immense resources and marching toward AGI under a new profit-oriented banner. He was no longer an insider guiding the project. He was an outsider watching his greatest fears materialize from the shell of his greatest hope. Chapter 4: The Unstoppable Force. The AI Boom, 2018 to 2023. The years immediately following Musk's departure from OpenAI were not a period of quiet reflection in the AI world. Instead, they witnessed an explosive, exponential acceleration in the power and accessibility of large-scale AI models. This AI boom served as a dramatic and public validation of Musk's dire predictions about the speed of progress, while simultaneously demonstrating the futility of his pause and regulate approach. The theoretical risk he had warned about was rapidly becoming a tangible reality, and the race he had hoped to moderate was now an all-out, global sprint. The timeline of technological breakthroughs during this period is staggering, and illustrates a clear inflection point in capability. In 2018, Google released BERT, a model that revolutionized how machines understand the context of language. This was quickly followed by OpenAI's own series of increasingly powerful, generative, pre-trained transformers. GPT-2, announced in 2019, was initially considered too dangerous to fully release due to concerns about its potential for generating convincing fake news. By May 2020, OpenAI shattered previous benchmarks with the release of GPT-3, a massive 175 billion parameter model that could write human-like text, code, and poetry, marking a quantum leap in generative AI. The pace only quickened. In 2021, OpenAI unveiled DALL-E, which could generate complex images from text descriptions, bridging the gap between language and vision. But the true earthquake came in November 2022, with the public release of ChatGPT. Built on an iteration of GPT-3.5, This user-friendly chatbot became the fastest-growing consumer application in history, reaching 100 million users in 2 months and thrusting the power of advanced AI into the hands of the general public. The release of the even more capable multimodal GPT-4 in March 2023 solidified the new reality. AI was no longer a niche academic field but a transformative technology reshaping industries in real time. This Cambrian explosion of AI was not limited to OpenAI. Google responded with its own powerful models like Palm and later Gemini, while Meta entered the fray by open-sourcing its Llama models, further fueling the competitive fire. The landscape had transformed into what the Pause AI letter, which Musk would later sign, described as an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control. This rapid advancement created a new practical problem that Musk himself highlighted in early 2025, the data wall. He declared that AI training had effectively exhausted the cumulative sum of human knowledge available on the public internet.